The palace halls were quiet, almost too quiet. Leora, the human maid, balanced a tray of glowing herbs, careful not to let a single leaf fall. She had been here for only a week, and already she felt the weight of the place pressing on her. Its high ceilings, the strange hum of machinery hidden in the walls, and the whispers of servants who avoided the royal chambers. Suddenly, a roar ripped through the corridor. It was loud enough to shake the glass vials on her tray. Leora froze. Her heart pounded as a shadow flickered across the polished floors. The air grew thick, heavy with a metallic tang she couldn't name. Then it appeared. A dragon. Not like the stories on Earth. Its skin shimmered like dark metal and scales glimmered with colors she didn't have names for. Its eyes were intelligent, almost human in their sharpness, and it moved with terrifying speed. Before she could react, it lunged, jaws snapping. Leora's instinct was to scream, but something inside her stopped the sound. She shoved the tray at the creature, shards of herbs scattering, and ducked to the side. The dragon's teeth grazed her arm. Pain exploded through her nerves, and a strange warmth spread across the bite. She stumbled backward, clutching the glowing wound. Blood didn't look red, it pulsed with faint light, like the dragon had left part of itself behind. She didn't have time to faint. She could hear the creature growl, low and deep, and it circled her like a predator deciding whether to strike again. Leora's mind raced. Running blindly would get her killed. Hiding wouldn't help if the dragon tracked her. She had to think quick. Spotting a narrow side corridor, she pulled herself toward it, dragging her arm but keeping her eyes on the dragon. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts. Every instinct screamed to fight or run, yet she felt something else, an almost impossible calm. She realized the dragon hesitated. Its eyes lingered on her, unblinking, almost waiting. That hesitation gave her a chance. She remembered the herbs on the floor. Grabbing a handful, she flung them at the dragon's head. The scent made it recoil, coughing a strange, blue smoke. Leora didn't wait to see the effect. She slid through the side corridor, wincing with every step, dragging her injured arm along the wall. The corridor twisted and turned, leading to a small alcove hidden behind a tapestry. She pressed herself against the cold stone, listening. Her heartbeat sounded deafening in her ears. Outside, the dragon's growls faded, replaced by a curious, almost soft sniffing sound. She dared a peek. The creature wasn't moving away, it was watching her, tilting its head like it was trying to understand. Leora's fear battled with fascination. She could feel the energy from the bite pulsing under her skin. It was warm, almost alive, and with each pulse she sensed a connection forming. She didn't know what it meant, but she had survived. That thought alone made her chest tighten with relief, and then guilt. Survival in this place meant danger. If anyone found her like this, she could be accused of breaking royal rules, or worse. The palace had secrets, and now she had stumbled into one. Her hand trembled as she examined the wound. The glowing blood didn't seem to spread, but it pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She wondered if it was poison or something else. Maybe the dragon had meant to kill her, or maybe it hadn't. The uncertainty gnawed at her. A sudden noise made her freeze. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing a thin corridor she hadn't noticed before. A faint hum came from inside, like the whisper of hidden machines. Her curiosity pulled her forward even as her body screamed to stay hidden. She realized this palace was alive in ways she didn't understand. The dragon, the hum, the glowing walls, they were all connected. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. She would have to move again. She had to figure out what this bite meant. If the dragon followed her, she needed a plan. And if someone discovered her bleeding in this alcove, she couldn't even imagine the punishment. Then she heard it, a soft, deliberate click behind her. Leora whipped around. Nothing, just shadows dancing against the walls. She laughed nervously, trying to calm herself, but the sound made her jump. The corridor had eyes, she realized. Not human eyes, but sensors or watchers of some kind. She wasn't alone. Her pulse raced. She had survived the dragon's bite, but the palace itself seemed alive, aware, and possibly hostile. Every step forward carried danger. Every decision could change everything. She clenched her teeth, swallowed the rising fear, and moved deeper into the shadows. The glow from her wound pulsed again, stronger this time, lighting her path through the hidden corridor. The dragon's roar echoed faintly, a reminder that it hadn't left. Somehow, somewhere, it was still watching. Leora had survived the first test, but the bite had marked her. And she was beginning to understand that survival here would demand more than courage. It would demand intelligence, quick thinking, and a willingness to face the unknown. A faint shiver ran down her spine. From the shadows ahead, she heard a soft sound. Something small and alive was moving toward her. And it wasn't human. Her breath caught. She realized the palace had more secrets than she had imagined, and the dragon was only the beginning. Leora pressed herself against the cold stone wall, every nerve alert. The soft movement she had heard was closer now. She peeked around the corner and froze. A small creature, no bigger than a cat, padded toward her. Its skin shimmered like molten metal, eyes glowing faint blue. It sniffed the air, then froze, staring at her glowing wound. Fear shot through her, but she forced herself to stay calm. She remembered how she had survived the dragon's bite, quick thinking and bold action. Maybe the same approach would work here. She held out a hand slowly, speaking softly in the only language she knew, human words. The creature tilted its head, then unexpectedly, it backed away, disappearing into a hidden grate. Leora exhaled, relief mixing with tension. The palace was alive in ways she didn't understand. Machines, creatures, and perhaps the dragons themselves, it was a web she had to navigate carefully. Every sound seemed amplified. Every shadow could hide danger. She had survived one encounter, but more were coming, she could feel it. Her glowing arm throbbed. The pulse was stronger now, as if it were syncing with her heartbeat. She examined it closely. The light ran beneath her skin in a thin, web-like pattern. It wasn't poison. It was something different. Something alive. The glow faded slightly when she moved, then returned when she stopped. She realized, with a mix of fear and awe, the dragon's bite had changed her. She needed answers, and there was only one place to look: the forbidden wings of the palace. She knew rumors whispered among the servants of corridors filled with dragon eggs, strange alien devices, and halls even the prince rarely visited. If she could reach there safely, she might understand the bond forming inside her. The first challenge was the palace guards. They moved silently, almost gliding across the polished floors, sensors in their eyes catching every motion. Leora ducked into a shadowed alcove as one patrol passed, counting slowly to 3 before moving again. Every heartbeat felt loud, echoing in the corridors. She realized just how small she was in this world of immense power, yet her mind raced with plans, quick solutions, and clever paths. She spotted a narrow ventilation shaft partially hidden behind a tapestry. It would be tight, uncomfortable, but it was safer than running in plain sight. Leora crawled in, pulling her glowing arm close to her chest. Every inch through the shaft made her muscles scream, but the thought of discovery was worse than the pain. Outside, she could hear the faint hum of palace mechanisms, whispers of alien voices, and somewhere, the low growl of the dragon. Emerging into a hidden wing, she found herself surrounded by soft light glowing from translucent tubes along the walls. Inside, she saw them, dragon eggs, each one larger than her head, shimmering with inner energy. Some pulsed faintly, others shivered as if reacting to her presence. The hum in the room grew louder, almost a heartbeat, and she realized the palace itself was alive in ways humans rarely imagined. The first dragon she had encountered appeared silently, crouching beside the largest egg. It regarded her with those same intelligent eyes, watching her every move. Leora's pulse raced. She had no weapons, no status, no leverage, but she had courage, quick thinking, and empathy. Slowly she reached out, showing the dragon she meant no harm. It stepped back, then allowed her hand to hover near its scaled snout. Leora's glow pulsed in response, and for a moment she felt a connection. Not pain, not fear, but understanding. The dragon's growl softened, almost a purr. Her small action, the calm hand, the steady gaze, had turned an impossible situation into a fragile alliance. Her micro-payoff was immediate. The dragon did not attack. Instead, it nudged her forward toward the largest egg. Leora realized something startling. The dragon had recognized her as something other than a threat, perhaps because of the bite. She had survived the first encounter, not by luck, but by courage and cleverness. But the tension rose again. From a shadowed corner, a figure emerged. A palace guard, or someone like it, but unlike any human she had seen. Cybernetic implants traced along his arms, sensors glinting under the soft light. His eyes scanned Leora and the dragon. Every instinct screamed at her to hide, but she stood her ground. She raised her glowing arms slightly, a silent warning. The figure paused. For a moment, it seemed uncertain. Then, without a word, it retreated, disappearing down another corridor. Leora exhaled shakily. Her quick thinking had bought her time. The palace was testing her, pushing her limits, and she had passed the second test. But she knew more challenges awaited. A faint hiss came from one of the eggs, louder than the others. It shivered violently, sending ripples of energy across the floor. Leora's heart leapt. The first dragon stepped in front of her, protective. She realized she might not only be surviving here, she might be the key to controlling these creatures safely. Every instinct screamed that danger and discovery were intertwined. The glow from her bite pulsed again, stronger this time, illuminating the room with a soft, almost holy light. She realized the palace had secrets and the dragons were just part of them. Her courage, intelligence, and calm thinking had kept her alive so far, but the palace itself was alive too, and it was watching. Leora knew she couldn't stay in this room. The glow in her arm was a beacon, the eggs were awakening, and the dragon's bond was only beginning. One wrong move and she could fail. But she had survived the dragon's bite. She could survive what came next. She squared her shoulders, took a deep breath, and stepped toward the unknown corridor at the far end. Then, from the shadows above, a soft mechanical click echoed. Something else was moving. Something bigger. Something that had not yet revealed itself. Her breath caught. She realized the palace was not just a place, it was a test. And she was only at the beginning. Leora stepped carefully down the corridor, every sense on high alert. The soft hum of the palace pulsed through the walls, syncing almost with her heartbeat. Her glowing arm cast faint light, bouncing off strange symbols carved into the walls. Symbols she didn't understand, yet they seemed alive. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every whisper of air felt like it carried secrets. The dragon she had bonded with followed silently, crouching low, its eyes scanning ahead. Leora noticed it moved differently here, alert, cautious, as if it sensed something the human mind couldn't. She felt the pulse from her bite growing stronger, almost urging her forward. Whatever had happened when the dragon bit her wasn't injury, it was a connection. She didn't yet know why, but the sense of being tied to something larger thrilled and frightened her at the same time. The corridor opened into a chamber unlike any she had seen. Tubes of glowing liquid lined the walls, humming softly, filled with shapes that looked like embryonic creatures. But they weren't all dragons. Some had features that made her stomach twist. Limbs folded in impossible ways, eyes too many, skin like molten metal. She realized with sudden clarity, this was a nursery, an experimental chamber, and the palace was not just a home, it was a lab. Her first instinct was fear, but she forced herself to stay calm. Running would do nothing if she didn't understand what she had stumbled into. Leora's mind worked fast as it had when the dragon first attacked. She crouched near the glowing tubes, examining one of the dragon embryos. Its scales shimmered faintly and inside she could see tiny pulses of light. The dragon from before nudged her hand gently, as if urging her to touch carefully. As soon as her fingers brushed the glass, a soft pulse of energy shot up her arm. Her glow flared, brighter than ever. The embryo inside the tube quivered, then calmed, almost as if it recognized her. Leora's pulse raced. The bite, was it meant to connect her to them? She realized the palace had chosen something unique about humans: courage, empathy, intelligence, to act as a bridge between these creatures and the world outside. Her small victory, however, was interrupted by a noise she hadn't heard before, a sharp, mechanical hiss from the far side of the chamber. A panel slid open and a figure stepped through. It was not fully human. Cybernetic limbs glinted under the soft light, and a visor ran across the top of its face. Its movement was precise, predatory. Leora's stomach tightened. She had underestimated the palace's defenses. The figure's voice, distorted and metallic, cut through the air. "Identify yourself." Leora froze for a split second, then raised her glowing arm. I'm a maid," she said, keeping her voice steady. "I did not mean to enter here." You carry the bond," the figure said, interrupting her. Its tone was neither threatening nor friendly. The bite was not accidental. The connection is growing. You are chosen. Shock hit her like a punch. Chosen? By what? The figure took a step closer. By them. The dragons. The palace only survives because of this bond. You have survived what no human could, yet. That is why you are here. That is why you were bitten. Leora's mind spun. The bite, the glowing wound, the pulse. It wasn't a curse. It was a test. And somehow she had passed. Her courage, intelligence, and quick thinking had convinced the palace's creatures that she was worthy. She had survived, and more than that, she had become necessary. A sudden vibration shook the chamber. One of the tubes rattled violently, and a hatch opened from the floor. From inside, a small creature emerged, scales jagged and black, teeth bared. It hissed aggressively, snapping toward her. Leora instinctively raised her arm. The dragon beside her roared softly, stepping between them. The pulse in her arms surged. She realized she could communicate, subtly, instinctively, with the creatures now. A gesture, a flick of the wrist, and the small black hatchling froze, confusion in its glowing eyes. Her heart pounded. This was more than survival, it was command. Through courage, empathy, and focus she could influence what no one else could. Then the figure spoke again. The palace has never allowed a human to control a dragon. Not fully. You are changing everything. Before Leora could respond, a loud crash echoed from the corridor behind her. The doors to the chamber shook violently, and distant alarms began to blare. The palace wasn't done testing her. She glanced at the glowing tubes. Some of the embryos were stirring more violently, as if sensing the disturbance. The figure raised its hands. They are reacting to your presence and your choices. Her mind raced. She could stay and risk the chaos, or use her connection with the first dragon to protect herself and the creatures. Her decision had to be fast. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, raising her glowing arm. The first dragon nudged her again, a soft vibration, almost like encouragement. She reached toward the nearest tube, signaling calm. Slowly the embryos settled, their energy pulses syncing with hers. The figure watched silently, impressed. Leora's heart pounded, not with fear but with adrenaline and determination. She realized the stakes. Her choices didn't just affect herself, they affected the dragons, the palace, and possibly more than she could understand. Her courage had brought her this far, but now intelligence and empathy would carry her through. Then, from the shadows behind the chamber, another hiss echoed. A second dragon, or something larger, was moving toward her. The first dragon growled in warning, stepping protectively in front of her. Leora's pulse surged, her glowing arm illuminating the room like a beacon. This is the real test. Survival is no longer enough. She must act. The chamber trembled again, and the figure spoke one final chilling sentence. Not all chosen humans survive this. Some fail the bond, and the palace remembers. Leora swallowed hard. She knew what she had to do. The next choice would not just determine her survival, it would determine the fate of the dragons and perhaps the palace itself. And as the larger creature stepped from the shadows, its glowing eyes locked on her, she realized. This was only the beginning. The chamber shook violently, the glowing tubes rattling as the larger dragon stepped fully into view. Its scales were dark as night, streaked with glowing veins of blue and red, eyes fixed on Leora like it could see into her soul. The first dragon growled, low and protective, standing squarely between her and the newcomer. Leora's glowing arm pulsed in response, a silent signal she didn't fully understand, but it was working. The creatures were reacting to her presence. She could feel her pulse sync with the dragon's energy. The bite had changed her. Her fear surged, but she forced herself to focus. Every second mattered. One wrong move in the chamber, the embryos and herself could be destroyed. She had no weapons. She had no backup. All she had was her courage, her mind, and the strange bond forming with the dragons. The larger dragon hissed and lunged. Leora ducked instinctively, rolling to the side as its massive claws scratched the floor. Sparks flew where metal edges met scales. The first dragon leapt forward, nipping at its younger kin, holding it back, but the force of the larger one was overwhelming. Leora's heart pounded, adrenaline sharp in her veins. She had to act quickly. Her mind raced. The glowing pulse in her arm responded to her thoughts, almost like an extension of her will. If she could guide the smaller dragon, she might calm the larger one. Slowly she extended her hand, palm outward, steadying her breath. The larger dragon froze for a fraction of a second. Her pulse surged again, brighter, stronger. Somehow, through courage, focus, and empathy, she connected with it. The dragon tilted its massive head, confused, unsure. Leora realized that the bite had given her not just survival, but control through understanding, a link forged through trust. She took a deep breath, her glowing arm lighting the chamber like a beacon. She stepped forward, voice steady despite the roar of wings and the hum of machinery. "Stop," she commanded softly, almost pleading. "I don't want to fight you. I won't hurt you." The larger dragon hesitated. The first dragon nudged Leora gently as if reinforcing her words. A pulse of energy rippled from her wound outward, brushing against the dragon's. The big one shivered and slowed, uncertainty replacing aggression. Leora felt it. The dragon could sense her courage, her empathy, her determination. This is what humans can do. Suddenly, a tube in the corner shattered, and one of the embryos surged free, hissing aggressively. Its energy collided with the larger dragons, creating sparks and shaking the floor. Leora froze for only a moment, then acted. She raised her arm higher, pulsing light, reaching not just to calm the large dragon but to extend her influence to the smaller one. The glowing wave rippled outward, striking the hatchling. It froze, then slowly lowered its head. The chamber fell into a tense silence. The dragon studied her, breathing heavily, muscles coiled but restrained. Leora's chest heaved. She realized what she had just done. She had survived, faced impossible odds, and exerted influence through empathy and courage, something no weapon or machine could achieve. The palace itself seemed to hum in approval. The cybernetic figure from before stepped forward again, voice metallic and calm. The bond is responding. Never has a human displayed such instinctive control. You are extraordinary. Leora's heart raced. She didn't feel extraordinary. She felt terrified. But the dragon's attention, the pulsing energy, even her own glowing arm, it confirmed that her courage, quick thinking and determination had changed the situation. The palace and its creatures were no longer untouchable. She had made a difference. But her relief was short-lived. From the shadows, a distant alarm blared, echoing through the chambers. The palace's walls vibrated as if something massive was approaching. The figure's eyes glinted. You've proven yourself, but this is only the first challenge. Something far larger is coming. Leora's mind raced. The first dragon nudged her again, protective, but her pulse surged in warning. Through the corridors she could feel vibrations of enormous energy, something alive, powerful and unfamiliar. The palace's quiet authority was cracking under a force she could not yet see. She clenched her jaw, refusing to step back. Fear burned in her chest, but she would not run. With a deep breath, she assessed the dragons. Both looked at her expectantly. She realized that the bond wasn't just defensive, it was partnership. They would act as she guided, as long as her courage and intelligence held firm. One wrong choice and they could all fall, but she refused to fail. Then the pattern interrupted. A hidden door in the far wall burst open, revealing a chamber filled with a glowing, pulsating energy unlike anything she had seen. Shadows shifted inside, and the faint outline of a massive, unknown creature moved within. Its sheer size made the floor tremble. Leora's stomach dropped. She had survived the bite, navigated the nursery and tamed one dragon, but this was bigger than anything she had faced. The figure's voice cut through the tension. It begins. This is the true test of the chosen. Not just courage, but humanity itself. Leora steadied herself. She raised her glowing arm, signaling the first dragon forward and taking a step toward the unknown chamber. Her pulse surged, echoing the dragon's heartbeat. She knew the coming challenge would push her to the limits of her courage, intelligence, and empathy. Failure was not an option, not when dragons, embryos, and the palace itself relied on her. Her mind raced. She could feel the bite's energy, the bond, the responsibility weighing on her, but she had survived impossible odds before. She could survive again. The chamber trembled as the massive unknown creature emerged fully, its glowing eyes locking on her. Leora's breath caught, but she didn't falter. Her courage blazed, brighter than the glow in her arm, brighter than fear itself. She was ready. And the palace, the dragons, and the unknown being before her all waited to see if a human could truly rise above the impossible. Leora stood in the chamber, heart racing, her glowing arm illuminating the massive creature before her. It towered over her, scales glinting with a strange, almost alien light. Its eyes were vast, intelligent, and unervingly curious. She could feel the vibrations of its energy through the floor, through the air, even through her pulse. The palace had tested her courage, her intelligence, her empathy, but this was the final challenge. The dragons beside her shifted, muscles coiled, wings slightly unfurling. Leora realized that her bond with them wasn't just survival. It was leadership, trust earned through quick thinking, bravery, and care. The smaller dragon nudged her again, reminding her that she wasn't alone. She swallowed her fear and stepped forward, keeping her glowing arm raised. "I'm not here to fight you," she said, her voice steady. "I only want to understand. I only want to protect." The massive creature tilted its head, a low vibration escaping from its throat. The pulse in her arm surged, stronger than ever, almost like it was responding to her words. Leora realized something profound. The bite from the first dragon had not just connected her to them, it had made her a bridge between humans and these creatures. Her courage, her empathy, and her intelligence were the tools of influence, stronger than weapons, stronger than rules, stronger than fear. A sudden flash of movement made her flinch. From the shadows, One of the embryos that had escaped the nursery lunged toward the creature. The first dragon roared, protective, but Leora acted instantly. Raising her glowing arm, she sent a pulse of calm energy toward the hatchling. It froze mid-motion, then slowly lowered its head. The larger creature watched, its gaze unwavering, seemingly impressed by her command. Her heart pounded, but she stayed steady. She could feel the palace itself reacting, the walls vibrating, humming softly, almost approvingly. The cybernetic figure from before stepped forward, voice metallic but calm. "You've not just survived, you've proven humanity's worth. Courage, intelligence, and empathy, the palace recognizes it." Leora's chest tightened with relief, but also understanding. She realized the palace had never sought to punish humans. It had tested them. It had searched for someone capable of reason, morality, and quick thinking under impossible pressure. The bite had been an invitation, not a curse. And she had accepted it. The massive creature lowered itself slightly, wings folding gently. The dragons beside her nudged her softly. The bond had been acknowledged. For the first time, the palace, its creatures, and the humans within it seemed in harmony. Leora exhaled, a long, shaky breath, realizing she had survived not through luck, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion, true human traits that even the alien palace respected. Her glowing arm dimmed slightly as the creature settled. She touched the nearest dragon's snout, and it leaned into her hand, eyes softening. "You trust me," she said quietly. "And I trust you." The connection felt real, profound, and entirely mutual. She had become part of something greater than herself. But as the relief washed over her, a faint vibration pulsed through the floor. Leora froze. The massive creature stirred, eyes narrowing slightly. The cybernetic figure's visor glinted under the light. "Not all mysteries are solved," it said. "This is only the beginning. Your courage has opened doors, but other challenges remain." Leora's mind raced. The palace had secrets, dragons had secrets, and the creature she had connected with held knowledge beyond human understanding. She had survived, she had led, she had bridged worlds, but the palace was vast and the unknown was waiting. She glanced at the first dragon, whose eyes glimmered softly. It nudged her as if urging her forward. Leora's pulse quickened, not with fear but with determination. She had faced impossible odds and she had triumphed. She had proven that human courage, intelligence, and empathy could not only survive, but shine in alien worlds. A sudden sound from the far corridor drew her attention. A soft, rhythmic hum, unlike anything she had heard. It wasn't a threat, yet, but it pulsed with power, curiosity, and intelligence. Leora realized the palace still held mysteries beyond even the dragons. She swallowed hard, excitement and caution mixing in equal measure. She had passed the first trials, but the larger story was only beginning. The cybernetic figure stepped closer. "You are chosen human. The palace has recognized your abilities. But what lies ahead will test every skill, every choice you make. And not all will survive unscathed." Leora nodded, understanding fully. She had survived the dragon bite, faced the nursery's chaos, and tamed impossible odds through courage and intelligence. Now she would face the next challenge, but she felt ready. Her heart beat steady, her glowing arm a soft reminder of the bond she carried. Humans could shine even in worlds designed to overwhelm them. The massive creature tilted its head, watching her, then slowly retreated back into the shadows. The dragons followed, casting one last glance at her before settling protectively near the glowing embryos. Leora's chest swelled. She had not just survived. She had led. She had protected. She had proved humanity mattered in a palace full of alien power. Then, as the chamber quieted, a faint shimmer appeared in the far wall. A doorway, glowing faintly with pulsing light, slowly opened. Beyond it, a vast corridor stretched into darkness, filled with humming energy. Leora felt the pull immediately, the pulse of the palace, the dragons, and something else she could not yet name. She realized, with a thrill that mingled fear and excitement, that her story was far from over. This next corridor promised greater challenges, deeper mysteries, and tests unlike anything she had faced so far. She squared her shoulders, glowing arm ready, dragons beside her, and stepped forward. The palace had acknowledged her courage. The dragons had accepted her. And the unknown, whatever it was waiting. Leora walked into the corridor, pulse glowing, mind sharp, heart unyielding. The bite had changed her. The palace had never seen this coming. And neither had she.